What happens when an artist writes the most honest song of her career? Not about love or heartbreak, but about the moment she finally stopped numbing. This week's guest is proof that sobriety does not shrink your voice, it turns up the volume.
I put it all out on the table, like we were two kids doing lines. I cut my wings off, tried to make you an angel. You said I couldn't get you high. It's a shame that you're moving to Tennessee. I guess I'll stay back in Cali trying to chase a dream. Run away from what you feel for me. I guess I'll cry in the valley and feel everything. Make me feel high, make me feel numb. Make me Hollywood rich with the boy on my tongue. Give it to me too fast, hit the air out my lungs. I know that I'm gonna crash, but I don't do drugs. I'm so hungry, this new man, he makes me sick. I think his ego might be bigger than his. And I don't drink, but I thought he could be a sip. That taste of replacement, that gratification ain't the same when it's not you and me. I'm the only one getting famous off our bigger dreams, but that don't make all the pain lose its sting. I guess I'll cry in the valley and feel everything. Make me feel high, make me feel numb. Make me Hollywood rich with the boy on my tongue. Give it to me too fast, hit the air out my lungs. I know that I'm gonna crash, but I don't do Make me feel high, make me feel numb. Make me Hollywood rich with the boy on my tongue. Give it to me too fast, hit the air.
Welcome to the Sober Life Rocks podcast. I'm Margie Schaller, your host, and here we celebrate the stories of people who are living their sober choices out loud in hopes that it inspires you to do the same. But before we dive in, I want to remind you it's not too late to join us for Amplify Sober Voices on January 15th in Orlando. This is the thought leader conference for speakers and writers, podcasters, coaches, and creators who are ready to take their sober story to the next level. It's one incredible day filled with inspiration, collaboration, and those I've found my people moments we all crave. And with just a few weeks left, the tickets are almost gone. So if you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. Don't miss your chance to be in the room with other sober changemakers shaping the future of this movement. You can hit pause right now, go grab your ticket at amplifysobervoices.com, and then come back for this amazing conversation. Now, I'm so excited to introduce you to today's guest. Ella Collier is an independent artist, songwriter, and producer, weaving dual worlds, raw vulnerability, and fearless power. She blends pop, trap, acoustic, and hyperpop into a cinematic sound where heartbreak meets heat. She's earned praise across all major streaming platforms, landed front page placement on Apple Music, hit number 6 on Spotify's Salt playlist, and she has syncs in Love Island, girl, I love that, NBA 2K, and X Games, editorial love from Wonderland and Galore, and a rapidly growing fan base hosting Zoom calls and building fan pages in real time. Ella is redefining what it means to create art that's both intimate and explosive. But what caught my attention was her newest single, I Don't Do Drugs. It might be her boldest yet. It's not just a track, it's like a declaration. Written from clarity and confidence of sobriety, it's a line in the sand about knowing your worth, keeping your boundaries, and choosing yourself. The track is a clever, satirical anthem about replacing old vices with new highs like career ambition, status, or transactional relationships to numb the sting of profound loss. Ella, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. What an introduction. I don't know how I'm going to follow that.
Well, girl, that's you. You have just wrapped it up in such a short time. You're like bursting onto the scene.
Yes,
it's so cool.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So I want to know, like before sobriety became part of your story, what role did alcohol or drugs play in your life, especially like as a young artist trying to find your place in the music world?
Great question. So I've come to learn that drugs and alcohol are a symptom of an internal feeling of loss within myself. And so even before I started using at all, I had this feeling of needing more always, and searching for that.
Needing more what?
It's kind of ambiguous. It was like whether it was, if I get a lot of friends, or if I become like prettier, or if I become famous by the time I'm 18, or any of those kind of societal check marks for happiness, then maybe I'll feel like I can rest. I can feel like I've arrived, right? And as I started getting older and I took my first drink, there was this feeling of, oh my gosh, there's not 1,000 voices in my head, right? There's one. And I'm not worried about if I'm skinny, or if I have a boyfriend, or if I'm going to be successful, or any of those things. I just am, in quotations, present, right? So I think the role that alcohol and drugs played in my life, it was a pause, right? It was a quieter of everything else in my mind. And it was a delusion feeder as well, for a long time, because, if you're listening to this or interested in sobriety or are sober, right? Like there is this feeling of the constant pursuit of self, which we will get into. And I think when you are high or under the influence of drugs or alcohol, right, I didn't have any worries. So the role started slowly and continued to pick up rapidly as I found that safe space in using. And it started to become a daily part of my life, an hourly part of my life. And I would be called a functional user, which is very common. And that's a very big distraction from people getting sober at times, because they think like, I'm doing well.
Right. On the outside, I'm doing fine.
Right. So I would say that that was the role before I got sober. It was just a insidious partner that I had.
So give me a glimpse, because the story that you're telling is a very common story, but different industries have different norms. And
of course,
the professional world, like you go to happy hours and then you go to dinners and then you meet at the bars. But I have a suspicion the music industry might have its own unique flavor.
Of course. I mean, something one of my really close friends and collaborators actually says is, whether it's Los Angeles or your career location or career is just a reflection. What you're seeing and experiencing is a reflection, a mirror of your internal world. So like at the time, all bets were off, like I could be high in a session, which a session is when you're writing songs with people and making a song. But I had rules. I was trying to control it. Right. So I would be like, there were times honestly where like I was a big marijuana user, honestly. And like, I would do it all the time. And then like on days I had shows, I was like, I'm not doing it today. Like I have to focus. And it would rip me apart emotionally because I was going through withdrawals before I'm going on stage. And then every time I was performing on stage, I would literally throw up. Like it was like that, like it was physically impossible for me to not be high or drunk. I got to that place. And even, yes, the music industry has its parts that are big and normalizing using, but I got to the point where people I was collaborating with were like, don't show up high to the session or else we're not working. Like I had people have that boundary with me. And even then I wasn't recognizing that I was affecting not only my personal life, but my professional life. I'd be on music video sets and I would get plastered. Like I was horrible to work with, like that. And not in a way that's like, oh, I'm the worst person ever and like trying to be mean to myself. But it's just looking back, I wasn't with anybody. I wasn't there. So I wasn't even there to help fulfill my creative vision. And I would distract myself and use the excuse of being a pop star and being young and doing the thing is like, this is what it is, like deal with it. And I think I really stunted my career growth at a young age as well. I had problems with my voice, for like all of the things that were probably flashing signs that this wasn't working for me. I tried to bulldoze over for a really long time.
Wow. What great authenticity. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
So was there like a specific moment or a realization where you're like, I'm done, I don't want to be this anymore? Or was it like a slower process of just kind of like, what brought you to that moment?
Stubborn alcoholics, we are, or at least in my experience, I had many, many a times where it obviously wasn't working for me. And I felt internally wrecked. And I would say that I was going to stop. And then the day
tomorrow's going to be better.
Right. And, the classic story. And then it gets around 4 or 5 and I'm back and it's fine. And everyone, I apologize and no one's mad. So it's fine. Let's do it again. And my body needs it more than my brain or spirit needs community at that time. Right. So I had a lot of low moments, lower than the moment that got me sober. But something that one of my friends in recovery actually reminded me of is it's not as much of the external thing that's happening that makes you stop. It's the internal unmanageability that it's this opportunity, right? For you it's a window of grace. It's the worst feeling you'll have where you come face to face with death in some capacity. And in my experience, trigger warning, I was at a place where I wanted to, commit suicide because I wasn't getting high anymore. And I wasn't feeling the benefits of my little friends. And
coping mechanism.
I just was scared. I got scared of myself. And it wasn't like, I'm going to get sober. Let's do this. It was like, maybe I should lay off. And once again, these windows of opportunity, which we'll talk about this interview, right? Like I'm very spiritual. And I noticed that people are there at the right times, doors open at the right times for all different types of things. And I'd happened to start collaborating with somebody who was sober and they helped me walk through that, and helped me show me what that journey looked like. I didn't think I was getting sober. I just thought I was going to lay off. And then that was my day one, and then I just kept working through it every day. And we'll talk about that too. Early sobriety is no joke. To validate anyone, not to scare them away. Like it is not fun for a second because you're literally face to face with everything you've been running from. So it takes a second to recalibrate with that,
Absolutely. I remember, I can so relate to both things you said. In the last months of my drinking, I wrapped my parents' car around a telephone pole, almost died, and blamed it on the rain.
Yep.
Not that I had been drinking too much.
Yeah, trust me, I heard that.
I went through surgeries and I had to recover, and I had people literally bringing me meals and taking my kids to school and all the things. And so I hadn't had a drink for, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks or something. And one of the people on the meal train brought me a bottle of wine along with a meal.
Off to the races.
Off to the races. That wasn't enough. So I get that so much. And then the other thing, let's talk about this, the early sobriety. I remember I got sober in AA 20 years ago, and that was the only option back then. Like today, there's so many different ways, but it was perfect for what I needed. And I used to call my sponsor, and she was busy. So she told me, like, leave me a voicemail. I'll listen to it. And if it's important, I'll get back to you right away. And if not, just tell me what's on your mind. I would call and I'd be sobbing on the phone about something or another because I didn't have my coping mechanism anymore. And she had this voicemail that was like 2 minutes and 15 seconds. And so I'd be in the middle of sobbing and beep, it would like finish and like, darn it. And I'd call her back. And anyhow, so
I feel you. I mean, it is like that because you don't, even with the community you're around, right? Like you don't feel understood or know anybody anymore. And I mean, thank you for even mentioning that. I think like a huge part, because I think I want to focus on that as well for people who are listening. Like this isn't like the end of the road. Like it's literally the beginning and it's so beautiful. And there's steps you can take, literal steps, but like for me, like I have and had a sponsor and I went to meetings and I was of service and I took a pause on pursuing my career for a second. And I continue every single day now. Like I'm a little over 3 years sober. Every single day I do something for my sobriety, right? Because it's a one day at a time thing. And for people listening, I promise you, like it gets so much better. It really does. If you lock in on your program or whatever works for you, right? Seeking something higher for your journey, whatever helps you kind of fill what I would say is the spiritual hole that I was missing, right? And the mental obsession, right? And physical craving. Let me not jump in there. But like it's a process. So yeah, calling your sponsor, if you have to call your sponsor a bunch and find that community in that way, like that is kind of what it is. It's ugly at the beginning,
Yeah. Ugly crying for sure.
Yes.
But so as you kind of re-entered into the music world, like I would imagine that can be a minefield to navigate sober, like 100%. Late night parties, after parties, networking, fueled by drinks, like all the things. So what's it been like for you to stay true to your sobriety in that kind of environment?
I feel like I'm so blessed at this point in my life. I have the best time. But that is from the work. That is from the practice of turning my fears over to a higher power, working through my version of myself that I love, right? Like, where do I look for external validation and bring expectations to the table with people who are not supposed to be the thing that makes me, right? Like, I've done a lot of work. I think the biggest thing that I highlight in my music, and we'll get there with I don't do drugs too, it's like emotional sobriety, right? So if I take care of my emotional sobriety, I can show up anywhere. And I don't even think about people drinking. I don't even think about that's there because I practice this program and I practice the work that it takes to genuinely have solid ground with my identity and my sobriety. And I think
But I'm going to press you a little bit on that. Like, that's easy to say.
I would love that.
That's easy to say. Like, oh yeah, my emotional sobriety is really good.
Right. No, but it's like, not easy.
Break it down. So for real, I had a gal on the podcast who she is a photographer for bands. And so they'll hire her to come in for a particular event. She'll do all the behind the scenes stuff. So she'll do them prepping in the green room and doing warm ups, and then like photography from backstage of them performing. And so afterwards, everybody who's sort of on the crew has this celebratory, like, woo, let's have shots or let's have a champagne or something. And so it's everybody.
Right.
And she said for her, the way that she has to navigate that is literally like, okay, I'll be taking the pictures. Right. So that she's not one of the ones being forced into
Totally.
So how do you actually navigate those sorts of moments? Because I'm sure that they're happening.
There's so many. I mean, I had someone offer me a sip of their drink the other night. I'm very open about my sobriety. I'm very like, no, I'm a wall about that. Like, I'm sober, cool. Like, and I don't make them feel weird about it. But I mean, honestly, at the beginning, it was really tough. Like, I didn't go anywhere. That's why also early sobriety is tough because you're relearning how to live and how to be places. So it took me time. So if I could give you the actual tangible examples of how I got to this place, it was feeling like shit. It was going through withdrawals. It was going to meetings every day. It was being resentful of every single person in my life and feeling like I was wounded in the corner and lashing out at my brother's wedding and then apologizing and then going back to another meeting and then just going to meetings and starting to practice my program of 12-step recovery. Was being in that work really changed my life, because then I not only opened the channel for higher power to come in, but I also got to look at the things that were driving me, even at those parties, to maybe say yes if they wanted to offer me a drink, or to stay a little longer than I wanted to, because I think it makes me more worthy, or all of those things, right? Like if I get to break down these motivations, and people sometimes will say defects of character. I like to say they're building blocks of like your insecurities or like your expectations, right? Like we look through those and we don't shame ourselves for those, but we become self-aware so we can turn them and look at them from the other side. And what's the opposite of, what does this look like? My sponsor had me do a lot of work with that. And it's years of work. Like for me to get through my first round of my 12 steps, it took me like 2 years, and what's my will? What am I in a career that is so self-focused, right? Like Ella Collier, I am her. This is my legal name. Like I didn't make up an artist, and I'm not trying to find, like, this is a direct reflection of my experience. So I almost feel like there's a part of me that owes it to the authenticity of my music and my career, my vision, to like really turn that over. And so once I went through that, I did start going to parties, and I would leave and I would cry and I would write songs about how alone I felt. And then the main thing that really changed my life was realizing how performative I was and could be in friendships and relationships, to where I wasn't acting as my authentic self. So I felt alone. And so I started practicing showing up as my authentic self and being honest and vulnerable. So I built stronger relationships and foundations. So then when I was in places like parties or people that I didn't know as well, I was still showing up as my authentic self. And the breath of fresh air that feels for you to be that way, and the way that disarms other people, creates this beautiful community and feeling that is intangible. And so, yes, people are drinking. Yes, people are doing the thing. I'm very selective on when and where and why I go out. If I don't feel like I have the energy to not only protect myself, but be a personality there, then I won't go. Like, I think it's like saying no. And I think sobriety has also taught me a lot about being social in a way that is not performative or surface level. And it's really created.
I'm so glad you brought that up. It just reminded me, you probably struggle with it even more so because you do have a persona that you're trying to market yourself as.
Okay.
But an ordinary person like me, I was raised by a mother who had super high expectations for me, and everything was about appearances, and everything was about accomplishments, and everything was about, how much you gave to the world. And so in sobriety, I still thought that was the right thing to do. Only now I could do it better because I didn't have, alcohol making me kind of sloppy. So I remember there was a time I was maybe like 10, 15 years sober, and I was starting to get resentments because I had this group of women who I was really close with, and we got together once a week and we spent time at each other's homes and went to dinners together. And I was thinking, I asked them all these questions about themselves, and I know so much about them, but I don't think they really know me. I don't think they really, they don't know what my hobbies are. They don't know what I like to do.
Right.
And so I was getting all pissed about it. And I was like, wait a second, maybe, possibly, it's me. Like, possibly I'm curating this outside image and I'm not letting them into that part of me.
Yeah.
And so same thing, like you did it at a couple of years sober. I'm so impressed with you. It took me 10 to 15 years to get to that point where I was just lonely in the
Mhm.
middle of this crowd of intimacy.
Right. I mean, also just to acknowledge what you're saying here, like there's no timeline, right? Like I'm continuing and you're continuing to unpack versions of ourselves. Like I'm going to look back on this and be like, wow, I had so much to learn. Like that's the beauty of this thing. So there's no shame. And if it took 3 months, 10 years, whatever, like I haven't, and that's the thing I want to iterate here. Like I don't have it all figured out. Like I think I embrace the space that I'm in, right? Like I think even with the idea of a persona in my career, all of my songs that I'm rolling out, and everybody knows this, I make this very clear with my followers and fans, like it's a manifestation of an extreme of an emotion. So I almost get to act out the defect in the processing of the music and in the visual and how I'm performing. So maybe I can show that wild side and someone relates. And it's also to do with sobriety, right? Like, because it's almost like this self-aware satirical.
You've talked about in your music, you've talked about loneliness and you've talked about isolation. And so, it's beautiful the way you do that. And so I think that like this now is a full circle moment where you were surrounded by this scene where substances are everywhere, where you were using them all the time. And now standing up and saying, I don't do drugs. Like, I want to know, what was it like in your creative mind and in your creative space to write this and to claim this for yourself?
Great question. Felt like I was the cool kid. Felt like I was, I felt like I was like, not actually, but in a way it's like unapologetically myself. Like I can still be raw and I can still have an edge in my sound design and have a bite to my personality and not be, under the influence doing that. And I think specifically for the song, I Don't Do Drugs, there's so many meanings underneath it. But the main meaning for this song for me was I was going through a really bad heartbreak, and like heartbreak anytime is just not fun. And I tend to come to find out that it's worth it. It's supposed to happen for some reasons. I'm going through like one of my largest heartbreaks. And it really was because it was my first time experiencing like a major heartbreak sober. Sometimes yes. I feel like I was realizing through processing a heartbreak that maybe all the feelings from my old heartbreaks were coming up at the same time, because it's bringing in this feeling of loneliness, right? Unworthiness, abandonment. And you can be self-aware about those things and still feel like horrible about them. And I think when I was writing I Don't Do Drugs, and the meaning of that song is going through this process of heartbreak and victimhood. And, a lot of the themes around the visuals and the work are like me kind of temper tantrum in like the dress in the ocean. Mm-hmm. Like, it's big on purpose, because it's like the little kid in me is pounding on the floor. Like, why is this happening to me? Right. And I'm going through the process of this song being like, I am going to process this breakup however way I can. And I'm self-aware that I'm trying to numb myself with career accolades, searching for relationships, searching for externals to prove that I'm doing the thing, because I don't do drugs. And so we say in the song, like, I know that I'm going to crash, but I don't do drugs, because it's like, you can crash not only from being high, you can crash from continually putting yourself in a position of heartbreak or continually pursuing externals without looking at the real issue. So this song is the manifestation of like being self-aware, but still feeling helpless and still acting on those defects in a way, So it's a lot about that like emotional sobriety under I Don't Do Drugs. You know what I mean?
It also felt to me like almost like a declaration, like I'm gonna suffer.
Yes.
And yet I don't do drugs.
Yes, I love that. I caught that in your introduction, and I'm honored, honestly, that you looked at it that way, because it's true. It's like we're owning the power that is the mess of all of this, and yet, like, I don't do drugs, and so I think that's a really beautiful, beautiful interpretation of that, and I appreciate you sharing that with me.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, like you said, there's many layers to it. I feel like this could be translated into many different things. I think about times that I've worked in the corporate life where I just had bosses that were oppressive and killing me slowly and just negating all of my areas of genius. But I don't do drugs, right? Like I can just see that almost in all different ways.
Yes.
Like the human experience has these moments where we just feel like we're a shell of ourselves.
Right.
And the thing that we used to turn to has gotten to the point where it's like, nope.
Yep. That is so cool. And honestly, I want to make a t-shirt now. That's a good reminder. It's like an affirmation.
It is. In our darkest moments. And I remember when I first got sober, like people talked about, you need to find that place in yourself where it's no matter what happens to me, I'm not going to relapse.
100%. I mean, and that's a great point, because there's been times in my sobriety that I've been face to face with this turning point. It's usually when I start smoking cigarettes again. You know what I mean? It's usually when I'm like, little nicotine again, we're back, because I've gone through my phases with that. And I know that like, it's so hard, but it's also kind of this really beautiful thing that I haven't experienced since I was a teenager. And I don't think I knew that that's what it was, but like crying and letting go is like a spiritual survival. Like your body is literally letting go of something, and it's a legitimate release. And if you're not fearful of pain, you can let that pain transmute through you and you will get to the other side. And it's never forever. Nothing is ever forever. Right. So I think in my sobriety, like it's been so painful in some moments of my life. And I know for a fact, right? Like I'm going to go through grief. Like I'm going to lose people that I love, and non-negotiable for me. It's something I talk about with my sponsor all the time, is like, what am I turning to? Like, I always turn to God no matter what. I get like anxious in 3 seconds. Like I'm always saying a prayer. Like that's just how I work. Like, it's just what helps me. And the concept of a higher power or God, like I think is so beautiful, because it can be like the feeling of love that you feel. I felt that recently, like literally last night, it was like with people that I really care about. And we were just like getting tacos, and like, it's like someone I'm really close to from this part of my life and someone I'm really close to from this part of my life. And they're becoming close, and then we're close. And it's like, this is God to me, And so like, you get to see these raw moments that we just skip over. We just skip over so much that's why I like being sober. Even us having this conversation, like when in a world would this ever happen if we didn't go through what we went through,
I know. I would never have met you.
Right. And everything happens for a reason. I believe that.
Yeah. When I first got sober and they talked about picking a sponsor who has something that you want.
Yes.
And that whole idea to me of no matter what was scary, because I had 2 kids. And I heard in the first week that I was going to meetings, I heard this woman talking about how at 6 months sober, her daughter was killed by a drunk driver.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
And she talked about how the ladies in the program literally like physically picked her up and carried her through those first months, like helped her bathe, helped her dress, helped her eat.
Oh my gosh, that makes me emotional. Yeah.
And I thought, that's what I want. I want the type of clarity, and no matter what, that if the worst thing happened, I could still make it sober.
100%. I think that's the thing with community too. Like
everything.
Even the way me and you are talking, right? Like this is not what people do, like we just met and we get to talk in this depth. And I know it's an interview, but I do feel like I'm talking to an old friend, like we have similar struggles, and we've like, I think it's so beautiful. Like you said, with the people who pick her back up and they all do this together. That is something new that I have experienced for the first time, is this depth of connection that I've learned in the program that I can bring into everything else with my parents, being astute with my mother and like just things of that sort that like, even though I was close with her before, there's a different relationship now. And I just find
and you mentioned like even going to parties that when you say that you're sober, that you have different types of conversations.
100%. Like, I think I also, it's okay to let it be awkward. That's another thing I have to tell you, people, like, let it be weird. Like, let it be like you don't really know anyone and everyone's kind of standing around and the music's a little too loud to have a deep conversation and you stand there with your Shirley Temple and like you're the one dancing, like just whatever. No one's going to remember anyways. And I think that's another thing I learned in program, right? Like people are outside after in groups. You don't know anyone really, smoking cigs. You walk up to the group, you literally just sit. You're like, hi, I'm Ella. There you go. And that is applied to every aspect of my life. I like have no fear of just walking up to people. And if it's weird, it says nothing about you. Like we are all just people trying to survive and like live.
Figuring this thing out.
Realize that calming ground. It's like, oh, you're okay. And being so self-focused to think everyone's thinking about you is a mode to suffering. So, you know, I love this type of stuff. This is the type of conversations I love to have with like everyone, you know?
Awesome. So what's next for you?
Good question. Well, today, what's next and a tangible, and then I'll get to the big picture. I'm going to go get coffee with my mom, and I'm going to a session. I've had a camp this week. They call them writing camps, where people just block out a whole week for you, and you go to the studio and you write songs. And it's been for my second album. And so I've been in the middle of writing my second album, which I Don't Do Drugs is actually the first song that gives a doorway to the subject matter of what my second album is going to be about. So I'm so excited because today is the last day of the camp. So we get to record vocals on all the songs that I've written this week for my second album. From a larger picture perspective, it's like rolling out my Dangerous album. And that is all about the extremes of the character defects, from ego to pleasure to greed to anxiety. All of the things, right? I don't do drugs. I think by the time this podcast comes out, if it's October 31st, it's out, or after it's out. I Don't Do Drugs will be out, be a video that comes with it. And then I'm basically like juggling, rolling out this album, filming the visuals for the rest of the album, and really engaging with that in a public sphere while also writing my second album and kind of finishing that up. So it's kind of all that while maintaining a meditation practice and calling my sponsor and making sure I see my friends and family, you know? And so that's what's next for me. I'm just going to keep making music. And I think the best part about the whole thing is you'll never catch me not being 100% honest. And if I wasn't 100% honest, I'll come back and let you know in the next song.
Wow. I love that so much.
Thank you.
So now bring it to other young people like yourself.
Yeah.
What would you say to the person who hasn't yet been as bold or as brave as you have been, but who really wants to speak up and make a difference and talk about themselves, but they're afraid, especially in the younger, crowd?
Right.
What would you say to them?
What God is telling me to say is all it takes is one step. It's not you don't need to think of it as like, I'm going to go be bold and brave and change someone's life or change my life or change your life, do this thing. I wouldn't think of it as a large upturning. I wouldn't think of it as a tidal wave. I would think of it as a grain of sand. Like every small action you take, whether that's trying to have a different type of conversation with your best friend and being like, hey, I'm kind of scared about blah, blah, blah. Like, can I tell you about it? Opens the door for that next thing, right? So I think it's like, if there's a feeling, my sponsor also says this, if you have a feeling inside of you where you kind of tighten up, get a little, let's explore that with grace and love before going out into the public sphere. Like, I think the more you hold your fears and turn them over and have grace with them, the more your path will be shown. And not everybody's path is to be an advocate in a large space, and not everybody's path is what I'm doing, right? I didn't expect to get sober at 22 or to be sitting here at 25 rolling out a song called I Don't Do Drugs, right? Like, you just have to allow the windows of opportunity to show up that feel aligned with your overall purpose, right? So to make that simpler, just like all it takes is one step. I think that's what I would tell them.
I love that. I love that so much. I think, I tend to think in like big black or big white.
Me too.
When people remind me that, there's this whole spectrum of 50 shades of gray, right? There's so many more options that we have available to us. And it always catches me by, why didn't I think about that?
Oh my gosh. I think very black. My default is to go to black and white. So it's like all these things, right? My default isn't like this spiritual guru that's so emotionally intelligent that shows up and is the life of the party, guys. Like, it takes a second. Like, it takes work, and it takes grace, and it takes understanding, and
setting intentions.
Yes. And we set intentions right before this. And that just disarmed me completely. Not even that I came in with armor up, but it just made me feel like, okay, I'm with another spirit here. Taking the time, that's a great point. Like, taking a beat, pause is really important, even from a speaking perspective,
Yeah. So last question I have for you, Ella, is, you and I talked about I don't do drugs, but when you think about people listening to that song, what do you hope that they take away from it, especially those who might still be in a place of numbing or chasing validation? Like, what is your hope for people who may not be in the same place as you are, but are listening to your songs?
My hope is that they just relate in some way. Because like the way that you related was different than how I would have related. It was different to how my photographer related, to how my mom relates. I think it's like feeling seen. My hope is that you feel seen. Even if you are not sober, mean that day, happy that day, it doesn't matter. Like, if you found a semblance of a reflection of something inside of you, or like, that's all I care about. Even if it's like, wow, I just like love how the song sounds, and you don't think that deep and it's not that deep, that's subconsciously connected with you somehow. And that's all I can ask, I
love that. Meet people where they are.
Yes, exactly. And that's the beauty of art. I'm just the vessel. It's not actually about like, hi, here's my presentation to you. It's, hey, like, you found this, and this is important to you for this reason, and it's yours now. Yeah. Thank you so much for such amazing, deep questions and conversations. I really think like what you are doing is extremely impactful, and I'm just so grateful to be part of this with you.
Thank you, Ella. For those of you listening, like, when we've had this conversation and talked about all the different meanings of her song, it's really not just about the substances. It's about drawing a line in the sand and saying, like, I don't abandon myself anymore.
100%.
And so if you're listening, like, where in your life maybe are you still abandoning yourself a little bit? Or, where do I say yes when I really mean no?
Yes.
Or where am I still reaching for something outside of myself instead of being with what's really happening inside? Because I think sobriety, creativity, leadership, being a parent, being a friend, it's all the same invitation. It's to stop numbing. It's to stop pretending. It's to start showing up as the truest version of you, whatever that might look like.
Yeah, and it's different every day and maybe every hour. That is so, you are smart. This is amazing.
Well, I really, really appreciate what you're doing and your messaging.
Of course. Thank you so much. And this will be our last time, for sure.
What's that?
This won't be our last time talking, I'm sure.
No, I'm absolutely sure of it. Yeah, I totally love all the things about you.
Oh, thank you.
So we also finished up kind of talking about like what would it look like for you, the listener, to step into making a difference in the world, whether that's a one-on-one conversation or something bigger.
Right.
And that's what Amplify Sober Voices is about on January 15th in Orlando. It's about amplifying your voice in a way that you can give back what's been given to you in whatever way that is. So it's not too late, but it's getting close. So grab your ticket at amplifysobervoices.com and come fill your cup with other people who get it, who are doing this work right alongside of you. Because this movement, it's just getting started, and your voice belongs in it. Thanks for listening to the Sober Life Rocks podcast. If something in today's episode hit home, please, let's keep that ripple going. Like it, subscribe it, and share it with someone who could use this kind of inspiration to live a louder, freer, and sober, proud life. And go listen to Ella's song. It's amazing.
Thank you so much. And thank you guys for listening.
Thank you.